Most podcasters make this critical location mistake that instantly signals amateur to high-value guests and listeners. Have you noticed how some podcast conversations flow effortlessly with genuine chemistry while others feel awkward and stilted? The difference often comes down to one decision that most podcasters never strategically consider. By the end of this video, you'll discover the strategic advantages and hidden drawbacks of both in-person and virtual podcasting. I'll show you exactly how to make this crucial decision based on your specific goals, resources, and the type of connection you want to build with your audience, not just what's convenient. Look, as someone who's helped hundreds of coaches and consultants build successful podcasts, I've seen how this single decision impacts everything from guest quality to audience retention. The truth is, most podcasters default to virtual simply because it's easier without ever considering the significant trade-offs they're making. Others assume in-person is always superior without calculating the true costs and limitations. This isn't just about logistics or equipment, it's about the fundamental experience you're creating for both your guests and your listeners. The location format you choose shapes the energy, authenticity, and depth of every conversation you have. In today's saturated podcast landscape, where listeners have endless options, these subtle differences in conversational quality and connection can be the difference between a show that grows exponentially and one that struggles to find an audience. Imagine hosting conversations so authentic and engaging that listeners feel like they're sitting in the room with you. Picture booking dream guests who choose your show over competitors because they know they'll have a premium experience. Visualize creating such deep connections through your podcast that listeners feel they truly know you, making the transition to becoming clients natural and effortless. The right location strategy doesn't just improve your show's quality. It aligns with your specific goals, whether that's maximizing your guest roster, creating the highest production value, or finding the perfect balance between quality and sustainability. But I know what you're thinking. Virtual is so much easier. Does it really matter? Or maybe, I'd love to do in-person podcasting, but I don't have the budget for a professional studio. These practical concerns often lead podcasters to make decisions based purely on convenience rather than strategic impact. You might also believe that content quality is all that matters and listeners don't care about these behind-the-scenes production choices. The reality is that these seemingly minor technical decisions create subtle but powerful differences in conversational dynamics that listeners absolutely pick up on. First aspect, online podcasting, the virtual stage. I want you to realize that virtual podcasting offers unique advantages that might align perfectly with your goals. Look at this carefully. When you choose virtual, you gain. Unbounded by geography, you can connect with guests anywhere in the world. Have your eye on an expert from another country. This will completely change your podcast by dramatically expanding your potential guest pool. Flexibility in scheduling. Virtual podcasting gives both you and your guests the flexibility to record without worrying about travel logistics. This is a significant time saver, especially for high-profile guests with packed schedules. Can you see how powerful this is? You can often book guests who would never make time for an in-person recording. Cost effectiveness, virtual requires minimal equipment, a reliable internet connection, quality microphone, headphones, and a quiet space. You'll save thousands on studio rentals, complex equipment setups, and guest travel expenses. This is the key to success for podcasters with limited budgets who still want to create professional content. Ease of editing. Many online platforms like 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗖𝗞 record audio and video in separate tracks, making post-production much more straightforward. If a guest or host makes a mistake, cutting it out or adjusting the audio is far simpler than with single-track in-person recordings. But wait, there's more, and it's not all positive. Virtual podcasting comes with significant drawbacks. Technical issues, lag, poor video quality, or dropped calls can pop up at any time, no matter how stable the connection appears. I'm sure you've noticed this too when listening to podcasts where the conversation suddenly stutters or freezes, lacks physical connection. There's an inevitable loss of physical presence in virtual recordings. Body language, subtle expressions, and the overall energy of an in-person conversation can feel diminished. This might be controversial, but this missing energy is often what makes virtual podcasts feel flat compared to in-person recordings. Audio quality can vary. With each participant using different setups, the audio quality is often inconsistent. Even a minor microphone issue on the guest's end can impact your podcast's polish and professionalism. This is absolutely crucial to understand. Your show will only sound as good as your guest's worst equipment. Reduced focus. Virtual recordings, often done from participants' homes, can be prone to distractions. A notification, a dog barking, or any unexpected background noise can disrupt the flow, especially if the guest isn't in a designated recording environment. Second aspect, in-person podcasting, the physical presence. Now, this is where you want to pay attention. In-person podcasting creates a fundamentally different experience. Enhanced connection and engagement. Being in the same room allows for a richer interaction where eye contact, body language, and even the strategic pauses add depth to the conversation. The truth is that this often results in a more dynamic, authentic exchange that listeners can feel even if they're just hearing the audio. Higher audio and video quality. With both host and guest in the same controlled environment, the audio and visual quality is typically more consistent and professional. This is going to blow your mind. The subtle improvements in audio quality often translate to listeners staying engaged for 30% longer on average. Immersive atmosphere. A physical space adds character and ambiance to a podcast. In-person recordings have a studio vibe that many audiences appreciate, almost like they're part of an exclusive gathering. Ask yourself, how would the energy of your conversations change if you were sitting across from your guests? Audience engagement opportunities. In-person podcasts can occasionally include live audiences, whether for Q&A or applause, adding a unique energy and interactive element to the recording that's impossible to replicate virtually. But listen closely to what I'm about to share. The in-person approach comes with significant challenges, higher cost and logistical challenges. The need for a dedicated recording space, whether rented or owned, raises costs substantially. Travel, lodging, and other expenses associated with getting guests to a physical location further increase the investment. I wish I had known this earlier. The true cost of in-person podcasting goes far beyond just equipment. Scheduling complexities. Coordinating schedules for in-person recordings is significantly more challenging, especially for high-profile guests. If one party needs to reschedule, the logistics become a major inconvenience compared to simply rescheduling a Zoom call. Limited guest pool. While you can connect with a global audience online, in-person podcasts limit your available guest pool to those who can feasibly travel to your location. This will completely change your podcast strategy if you're hoping to interview international experts or people outside your geographic area. Third aspect, the strategic decision framework. This is the key to success. Making this decision strategically rather than defaulting to the easiest option. Ask yourself these critical questions. What are my primary podcast goals? Building a massive network through many guests. Virtual might be better. Creating the highest quality production with fewer, more impactful episodes. In-person could be worth the investment. Establishing deep personal connection with a loyal audience. The intimacy of in-person might be crucial. What are my current resources? Budget constraints. Virtual is more economical to start. Limited geographic access to guests. Virtual removes those barriers. Have access to a quality recording space. Leverage that advantage for in-person. What's my ideal guest profile? High-profile, busy professionals. Virtual might be the only way to book them. Local industry experts. In-person could provide a competitive advantage. Here's what I want you to remember. This doesn't have to be an either-or decision. The most successful podcasts I've helped launch often use a hybrid approach. Virtual for international or hard-to-book guests. In-person for local guests or special episodes. The format you choose, virtual or in-person, isn't just a logistical decision. It's a strategic choice that shapes the entire experience of your podcast for both guests and listeners. While virtual offers unmatched flexibility, a global guest pool, and affordability, it comes with limitations in quality and personal connection. In-person creates a more immersive, professional experience, but requires a larger budget and limits your potential guest roster. For coaches and consultants prioritizing accessibility, convenience, and a diverse guest lineup, the virtual format might be ideal. However, if your goal is to develop rich, engaging content with top-notch production value and you have the resources, in-person offers an unparalleled atmosphere and connection. If you want to master both virtual and in-person podcast techniques that create authentic connections with guests, check out my podcast academy by clicking the link in the first comment. Inside the academy, you'll discover my remote recording mastery guide with exact equipment setups and software settings that make virtual interviews sound like you're in the same room. For in-person recordings, I'll show you how to create a professional studio for under $500 using the same equipment I use for my high-end client interviews, all backed by bi-weekly coaching calls where you can get personalized feedback on your recording setup and interview techniques to accelerate your podcasting success. Let me know in the comments whether you're currently recording virtually or in person and what your biggest challenge has been with your chosen approach. And if you found this video helpful, you absolutely need to watch my video on Pick Your Podcast Topic Like a Pro next. Once you've decided on your recording format, you'll need to make sure you've chosen the perfect topic that will keep your audience engaged for the long term. That video will show you my proven topic selection matrix that guarantees your podcast has staying power and attracts your ideal clients.